Coming up today, China says it's banning exports of more dual-use goods to North Korea to comply with the latest UN sanctions on the regime. The materials could be used for the North's development of WMDs. South Korea's job growth in May remains sluggish and the youth unemployment rate remains stubbornly high. There are fears, too, that the issue could be exacerbated by slumping exports and corporate restructuring. Plus, the gunman who killed 49 people at a gay nightclub in Orlando was reportedly spotted at the establishment several times before the massacre. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Wednesday, the 15th of June. You're tuned into our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this afternoon, Korea's job market continues to exhibit few signs of improvement, with the number of new jobs added last month remaining in the 200,000 level for a second straight month. The even gloomier side to the latest figure is that youth unemployment rate is still stubbornly high. Hwang Ji-ae starts us off.
Korea's youth jobless rate for the month of May hit an all-time high. For 4 straight months leading up to that, the unemployment rate for young people ages 15 to 29 had been hitting record highs in each month from previous years. And the trend is unlikely to improve anytime soon.
The employment rate of the younger generation was at 42.7%, which is not that high. So the jobless rate is also rising. This has been the trend for a while and is expected to continue.
While the employment outlook for Korea's young people is pretty bleak, that's not all they'll have to contend with. Overall employment conditions also remained sluggish. Statistics Korea says the number of employed people in the nation stood at around 26.5 million in May, up 261,000 compared to the same month last year. This marks the second straight month where the number of new jobs added has stayed in the 200,000 range. The Finance Ministry expects Korea to continue to add more jobs at a gradual pace. That's thanks to the service industry, which got a boost from government measures like temporary holidays and an extension of consumption tax benefits. The ministry notes, however, that a possible shock from slumping exports and a government-led corporate restructuring drive could further threaten the job market. Hwang Ji-ae, Arirang News.
Now staying with economic news, and Korea's import prices rose to a 7-month high in May on the back of a weakening local currency and higher oil prices. According to the Bank of Korea on Wednesday, the import price index was 77.43 last month, up 3.5% from the previous month. The average price of Dubai crude was $44.26 in May, up 13.5% from the previous month. The local currency weakened by 2% against the greenback, pushing up overall import prices. Export prices also gained 2.4% from a month earlier. The head of Lotte Group, who is currently in the US, has apologized for causing concern amid the recent embezzlement scandal surrounding the conglomerate. The apology follows a series of raids of the group's offices in Korea, where prosecutors are looking into allegations the group created slush funds through real estate transactions and internal trading. Lee Min-young has this report.
Shin Dong-bin, the head of Lotte Group, offered an apology for the slush fund scandal engulfing the group, which is Korea's 5th largest conglomerate.
I'm truly sorry for causing so much concern.
Shin is currently on business in the United States and made the remarks to reporters at a groundbreaking ceremony for a joint venture chemical plant in Louisiana on Tuesday local time. This is the first time he has spoken to the media since prosecutors in Korea launched an investigation into the group for allegations of embezzlement and other financial irregularities. Shin also vowed to fully cooperate with the ongoing investigation, which involved raids on several Lotte offices this week. The investigation and ongoing scandal surrounding Lotte Group have prompted it to postpone its plan for an initial public offering plan for Hotel Lotte. The IPO plan was part of reforms designed to improve the transparency of the group's murky corporate management structure, following a bitter power struggle between Shin Dong-bin and his elder brother Shin Dong-ju. The Lotte chairman said, however, that he would press ahead with the reform plan.
I will try to push ahead with it so that we can see some results by the end of the year.
Meanwhile, the investigation is moving forward. On Tuesday, prosecutors stormed 10 business units, including Lotte Engineering and Construction and Lotte Chemical, as well as 5 other locations in a second raid on Lotte Group. Prosecutors said they are also planning to track the group's real estate transactions for evidence of misconduct, including embezzlement and breach of trust. Lee Min-young, Arirang News.
China has announced plans to ban the export of certain items to North Korea, following through on its commitment to UN sanctions against the regime. The materials could be used to help Pyongyang build up its nuclear, chemical and missile arsenals. Connie Kim reports.
China's Ministry of Commerce has expanded the list of items banned for export to North Korea in an effort to prevent Pyongyang building more weapons of mass destruction. The list of dual-use goods, products that have both civilian and military use, includes 40 items including magnetic materials, laser welding equipment, and chemicals that could be used to produce chemical warfare agents. The ministry said the new list is in line with UN sanctions adopted in March as punishment for Pyongyang's nuclear test early this year. China announced its first round of trade restrictions on North Korea in April that includes a ban on imports of gold and exports of rocket fuel. China's new measure comes on the back of the International Atomic Energy Agency's claim that the North appears to have reopened a plan to produce weapons-grade plutonium from spent fuel. Experts say Beijing's move is part of the Chinese government's efforts to show the international community that it's willing to strictly implement sanctions on its longtime ally. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, staying with North Korea, and the country's trade volume tumbled 18% last year, ending 5 straight years of growth, according to the Seoul-based Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency. North Korea's overall trade volume came to $6.25 billion in 2015, down 18% from $7.6 billion the previous year. The country's exports fell 15% on year, while imports plunged 30% over the cited period. The agency says this is due largely to a drop in prices of key trade items such as coal and the economic slowdown in China. Trade volume between North Korea and China amounted to $5.7 billion last year. That's down nearly 17% from the previous year. Now, it has emerged that North Korea may have added up to 6 more nuclear weapons to its arsenal over the last 18 months. The Washington-based Institute for Science and International Security estimated last year that North Korea had 10 to 16 nuclear weapons as of the end of 2014. Now, this estimate was based on an analysis of the country's production of weapons-grade uranium and plutonium. However, in a report provided to Reuters on Tuesday, the Institute updated the figures, saying North Korea may have added another 4 to 6 weapons since then, for a total of 13 to 21, or perhaps even more. The report comes after several accounts, including from the IAEA, that North Korea has restarted reprocessing spent nuclear fuel to produce weapons-grade plutonium. South Korea, the United States and Japan have agreed for the first time to boost cooperation on issues related to the Middle East and North Africa, regions that have been struggling to deal with terror groups like Islamic State. Park Jong-hong has the details.
The inaugural meeting in Washington went beyond the usual topic of security in the Asia-Pacific region. Senior diplomats from the 3 countries reportedly discussed ways to deal with the growing threat of the Islamic State militant group. The State Department issued a brief statement saying the trilateral dialogue provided an important opportunity for the 3 governments to exchange views and coordinate policy, as well as to explore opportunities to deepen cooperation in the region. Other diplomatic sources said the meeting helped Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo exchange views on ways to share information on the Middle East and North African political affairs. Representing the three countries were South Korean Director General for African and Middle Eastern Affairs Kwon Hee-seok, U.S. Assistant Secretary for Near Eastern Affairs Ann Patterson, and Japanese Director General for Middle Eastern and African Affairs Tsukasa Uemura. Park Jong-hong, Arirang News.
More than 48 hours have passed since the deadliest massacre in modern American history, but rather than becoming clearer, the perpetrators' true motives are getting even muddier. The FBI is seeking to charge the Orlando attacker's wife for possibly knowing about his gruesome plan, but there are also reports that put a question mark over the killer's sexuality. Hwang Ho-jun has a story.
What drove Omar Mateen to murder 49 people in cold blood remains unclear. Witnesses are telling U.S. media that Mateen, who also injured more than 50 people in the attack, was a regular at the Pulse nightclub, a gay bar in downtown Orlando. Moreover, there are claims the killer used a location-based gay dating app called Jacked for over a year. In an interview with CNN, the killer's father rejected speculation about his son's sexuality.
Well, as long as I know, and all these news came from the news, and I don't believe that he was whatever you call it. So,
Jacked was unable to confirm whether Mateen had an account, as signing up for the basic version of the app can be done anonymously. A flood of new details have emerged since the night of the massacre. It has now been confirmed that Mateen, a U.S. citizen born to Afghan immigrants, called 911 swearing allegiance to Islamic State as he took hostages in the club's bathroom. The FBI also stated that Mateen had been under investigation for about 10 months as he expressed support for Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah in 2013. It has also emerged that Mateen had worked as an armed security officer since 2007. However, with the speculation about his sexuality still swirling, some say it's too soon to jump to the conclusion that it was a religious terror attack against the LGBT community. Also surfacing are reports that Mateen's wife is under the scrutiny of the FBI, possibly facing charges for being connected to the mass shooting. Citing sources, reports say Noor Salman may have had prior knowledge of her husband's plan as she was seen with him when he bought ammunition. She's also said to have told investigators that she had dropped her husband off at the nightclub on occasions prior to the attack. The FBI is trying to determine the level of Salman's involvement before deciding their next step. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
And there's been more terror in the French capital as well, and the top prosecutor in the capital city of Paris says that the man that stabbed to death a French police commander and his wife recently declared allegiance to the Islamic State group. He added that investigators found the killer had compiled a number of targets, including rappers, journalists, police and public figures. The targets were found after police stormed the victim's home in a suburb some 50 kilometers west of Paris. Officials say the ISIS-inspired attacker stabbed the police commander 9 times in the stomach before holding his wife and 3-year-old son hostage in their home. After negotiations failed, an elite police unit stormed the home and shot him dead. The police chief's wife was found dead, but their child was rescued unharmed. If the link to ISIS is confirmed, it would be the first militant strike on French soil since the Paris attacks in November of last year that killed 130 people. Now, it seems like there's much more to being happy than living a long life and earning a reasonable income. Despite reaching decent levels in both those aspects, South Koreans remain quite unhappy on the whole. A report by the Korea Institute for Health and Social Affairs has found that South Koreans' subjective happiness is below the global average. This is despite South Korea having an above-average GDP and life expectancy compared to the rest of the world. The analysis is based on the UN's World Happiness Report 2016, released in March, that compiled data from the past 7 years. South Korea ranked 58th out of 157 nations. Korea has failed to rejoin Morgan Stanley Capital International's review list of developed market index candidates after it was excluded in 2014. MSCI explained that this is mainly because Korea has not opened offshore markets for its currency, which Korea contends could increase the won's volatility, while strict identification requirements still remain for foreigners using data from Korea Exchange. Korea's finance officials said Korea will strive to enhance its investment environment while maintaining the stability of foreign currency market. MSCI also did not add China's local currency shares, or A shares, to its benchmark emerging markets index due to concerns over the openness and transparency of Chinese markets. Now, Korea is expecting rain and thunderstorms this afternoon following the showers we saw this morning. Seoul and Gyeonggi-do province could see more than 80 millimetres of rain in the form of scattered heavy showers throughout the afternoon, but fewer than 60 millimetres is expected for the rest of the country. The rainfall is expected to pull the mercury down a bit nationwide, and Seoul, Daegu, Daejeon and Busan can expect temperatures to range from between 22 to 25 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Now, because of the weather, some passenger ship routes, including the one from Incheon to Yeonpyeong-do Island, have been temporarily closed for safety purposes. Forecasters are predicting the rainy season to start on Sunday, so have your umbrella ready, and the wet weather will last till the end of July. Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to our newscast, and we'll be back throughout the day with more bulletins. Our next scheduled newscast coming up at 3 p.m. Korea time. So until then, goodbye.